a day after a First Nation in Saskatchewan reported that it had discovered hundreds of unmarked graves at a former residential school. The Prime Minister apologized and condemned Canada's past treatment of Indigenous peoples, while also standing by a cabinet minister accused of sending a racist message to an Indigenous MP. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau spoke publicly for the first time today since Cowessess First Nation reported a preliminary finding Thursday of 751 unmarked graves at a cemetery near the former Marieville Indian residential school. This was an incredibly harmful government policy that was Canada's reality for many decades, and Canadians today are horrified and ashamed of how our country behaved, about a policy that ripped kids from their homes, from their communities, from their culture and their language and forced assimilation upon them, Trudeau said outside his home at Rideau Cottage in Ottawa. Lodera, to the members of the Cowessess community and Treaty 4 communities, we are sorry. It was something that we cannot undo in the past, but we can pledge ourselves every day to fix it in the present and into the future. The report from Saskatchewan comes after the Temlup's Tsquepemc First Nation announced last month that preliminary findings from a survey of the grounds at a former Kamloops Indian residential school in BC revealed the remains of 215 children buried at the site. Trudeau also said Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Carolyn Bennett would remain at her post despite calls for her resignation because there is more work for her to do on the Indigenous file. She is mortified. Mark Miller reacts to angry exchange between Carolyn Bennett and Jody Wilson-Raybould. It took my breath away. Mark Miller reacts to report of unmarked graves in Saskatchewan's Cowessess First Nation Greek Montreal's Marque Fête Nationale with festival on the South Shore, Nova Scotia to lift all restrictions for New Brunswick travelers starting June 30. Bridgewater Transit Service Wolfville Wedding Chapel. Recklessness, incompetence, disregard for human life. Mark Garneau comments on PS 752 forensic report. It's painful, plain and simple. 751 unmarked graves found at site in Saskatchewan. The unveiling of a headstone honoring the first Canadian-born black lawyer takes place in St. John. More beehives won't save the bees, says researcher. There's this anticipation and an excitement in the air. Joss Reimer responds to concerns about heart inflammation. Watono bus is the first self-driving shuttle bus at a Canadian university. It's a really big deal. All Manitobans will be eligible for second dose on Friday. Class of 2021 valedictorians in Kitchener-Waterloo region pay tribute to their schools. These birds do not cut. Bennett apologized publicly to Indigenous MP and former cabinet minister Jody Wilson-Raybould yesterday after suggesting in a private message to the MP that her concern over residential schools and Indigenous rights was really a ploy to secure a generous MP pension. In a social media post, Wilson-Raybould attacked Trudeau yesterday over what she called his selfish jockeying for an election, and demanded he set those ambitions aside and commit to his 2018 promise to deliver transformative Indigenous rights legislation. Bennett responded to Wilson-Raybould in a private message that consisted of a single word: pension. Wilson-Raybould was one of 142 MPs elected for the first time on October 19, 2015. Which means she would fail to qualify for her MP pension if she's defeated in an election before October 19, 2021. Earlier I offered my apologies directly to the MP for Vancouver-Granville. I let interpersonal dynamics get the better of me and sent an insensitive and inappropriate comment, which I deeply regret and shouldn't have done, Bennett said in a social media post. What Minister Bennett did was wrong, Trudeau said. It was hurtful. And of course I am deeply disappointed. He added that Bennett did the right thing by apologizing because it was the wrong thing to do. I spoke with Carolyn Bennett this morning. I know how hard she has worked and continues to work on this important file. I know her heart. I know the efforts she has put in over years on this. And we both understand there is now even more work for her to do. And I know we will do it together. Trudeau also addressed concerns about cancellations of Canada Day celebrations in some municipalities, prompted by the preliminary findings of unmarked graves. We need to understand and remind ourselves that Canada didn't happen by accident and it won't continue without effort, Trudeau said. This coming Canada Day, I think we all need to pledge ourselves to doing what we can to continue that effort to make Canada better, all the while respecting and listening to those for whom it's not yet a day of celebration.